Wrangler. As the temperatures get warmer, the deals get hotter. With the area's largest inventory of new Ram trucks and ProMaster vans, we know we have one that's just perfect for you. With 1.9% financing for 72 months on every new Ram 1500, plus crazy huge discounts on every heavy-duty and commercial Ram 2500, 3500, 4500, and 5500 truck. Inventory is moving out. Don't wait. Grab yours today. Don't forget about our quality inventory of certified pre-owned cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Kufleitner Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, your locally owned and operated hometown dealer that's committed to bringing you the most value and the best deals this spring. Located on Route 14 in Columbiana and on Market Street in Boardman. And please remember, tell a friend.
From the A to Z Dependable Services Traffic Center. Septic, plumbing, heating, cooling, and drain cleaning. 570 traffic.
Only about 20 minutes on the turnpike from the state line to I-80. You have a 6-minute drive on Route 11 from Canfield to the I-86-80 split, and 30 minutes still on 422 between Warren and downtown Youngstown. I'm Mike Ross in the Total Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. Shop Mattress Firm's Upgrade Your Sleep sale. See a sleep expert and get matched with your perfect bed so you sleep better at night. You'll even get 120 nights to love it or your money back. Restrictions apply.
Weather brought to you by Mazza Heating and Cooling in Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
This report is sponsored by ExpressPros.com. Let Express Employment Professionals help you hire for contract or full-time jobs. Forget about recruiting, sifting through resumes, and interviews with unqualified applicants. Go to ExpressPros.com to find the location near you. That's ExpressPros.com.
Now, Ron Verb on News Radio 570 WK.
Welcome to Thursday. Once again, March, 13th. We're sitting with a beautiful 66 degrees here. We're happy to have it. And dry weather and sunshine just puts you in a better mood. Glad you're with us here. And so being Thursday, being 5 o'clock, it's time for the longest running legal show that's on the planet, quite frankly. It's all courtesy of the law firm Beatrice Kopp on News Radio 570 WKBN, where we answer your legal questions. We have all of our lines open as we start the broadcast. You know what happens. I tell you it happens because when we end the program, we can't get everybody on. So if you have a legal question, the time to call is right now because we have about 50 minutes or so to address your legal needs at 330-729-9977. 330-729-9977 if you want to get by or get on here and get a question. We got a couple lines open. 330-729-9977. 330-729-9977 will get you on board with us and get you in touch with some of the finest lawyers in our community to answer whatever question you might have, whether that's child supports, divorce, custody issues. Perhaps it has to do with medical malpractice. Perhaps it has to do with auto accidents, or perhaps contractual issues that you might be facing, or estates, or evictions, or wills, whatever the situation might be, or maybe a trust. Whatever the situation might be, we try to answer your questions and point you in the right direction, and we don't send you a bill. It's all courtesy of Beatrice Kopp on News Radio 570 WKBN. Let's go down to the law firm and check in with our attorneys tonight. And let's see if we have Attorney Mark DeVecchio with us.
Absent.
Let's see if we have Attorney David Beatrice with us.
Absent.
Let's see if we have Attorney Frank Cassis with us.
On his way back from court.
All right, absent. You can say it, absent.
I wouldn't do that to Frank Ron. You know that.
I know, but it sounds kind of cool. You know what I mean? If we could just do it one time.
Absent.
Let's see if we have that constitutional guy that's a First Amendment guy that comes out of where, Cincinnati or something.
Absent.
There you go. I'm really stretching for straws. Everybody's going to be absent when I'm done with this program. Let's see if we have the pride and joy of Girard's, the great attorney himself, back, I think, from Florida, Attorney James Melfi.
Ron, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I think last time, weren't you in Florida?
I was in Florida last week and got back late Friday.
How were things in the Sunshine State?
Weather was beautiful. Got a few things done and got back to Ohio. So all in all, a good trip. But I do have a special guest with me tonight.
Oh, you do?
I
Well,
do.
who could that be? Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida?
It is not. It is Dan Leslie, who is a second-year law student at Akron and also works for us doing a lot of our research and clerking.
A second-year law student.
Yes.
He hasn't graduated yet.
Has not graduated yet.
You think you think he'll make it, or do you think he'll wash out? Is he partying too much? Give me your read, Melfi.
No, he's not partying
is he-
too much.
You sure?
I'm sure.
All right,
He's
just
gonna be
checking
just
on
fine.
that. Really?
The kid's
You're
got it.
optimistic?
Oh, 100%.
He's no Frank Casiso, is he?
Seven different interests, I'd say.
All right. Well, all right. And
Dan, introduce
so
yourself. Say hello.
Ron, Dan,
Yeah, Dan.
Leslie, how are you, sir?
I'm okay, Dan Leslie. And how's things going? University of Akron Law School. That's my alma mater, just so you know.
Okay, we're gonna be sharing the same one here pretty soon. I'm in my second year. Like Jimmy said, I work here in the law firm. Brian Kopp's nephew, and just trying to get my feet wet. And all we do here.
Well, you got big shoes to fill if you're Brian Kopp's nephew. You got big shoes to fill.
Yeah, very big shoes to fill. Even though he's a short guy, big shoes to fill.
Wow, you're throwing shots at him. He's not even here.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
But Dan says
Really?
get his feet wet in this. It's really we just throw him in the deep end.
There's no real getting your
Yeah, there's no floaties, no
Right.
lifeguard on
Well,
duty. You know.
Now, were you inspired to become a lawyer because of Brian Kopp?
I was because of Brian Kopp, and then also Attorney Beatrice kind of gave me the nudge to pursue the opportunity.
Really? So the what do they call him online though? The
Law father, he's going by.
The law father, yeah. So the law father inspired you to go. Yeah. And do you find it more difficult than you thought it would be, or what's your assessment?
It's about what people say is I think the first year is a little overwhelming to some people, but once you get through the first year and have an understanding of what you're doing, you kind of settle into it. And working here at the firm with all these guys has really taught me a lot of things and got me off to a good start.
Do you do a lot of the research for the guys?
I try to do as much as I can. Jimmy's really good at the Westlaw research and digging into things, so I'm trying to learn as much as I can for him. But I would say that's my area of expertise at the moment.
Technology.
Technology, yes, big tech.
Now, who at the firm do you is your favorite? Who do you think's the sharpest attorney?
Well, you put me on the spot here. On the top.
I know.
Are you going
know.
to take
See-
5?
I might
Also,
take
I'm
it.
sitting right next to
But
you.
Jimmy is sitting next to me, so sitting here today, I might have to say Attorney Malcolm.
That's right.
Sharpest.
You know, it was a trick question, Melfi. I just wanted to see if he would answer it or duck it.
He
You
may
know
have
what I
kept me
mean?
here all night if I said someone else doing research.
I still might
You know
keep
what I
him here
mean?
all night to do research.
You know what I'm thinking to myself, Melfi? I'm
Tell me.
thinking, hey, you know who owns the firm? Beatrice. If he doesn't answer Beatrice, it's all downhill. Beatrice Kopp, Beatrice Kopp.
Yeah.
He didn't say Beatrice. He didn't say Kopp. He said Melfi.
Yeah.
He's got courage, man. He's got courage. His career's over,
He has
though, at the
gumption.
firm.
He's fine.
Trying my best.
Yeah, he's washed up. Wait till Dave and Brian hear that. All right. There you go. All right, let's take some calls here with our attorneys tonight. You're on the air. Hello there.
Yeah, hey, Ron, it's not a personal question. It's a question maybe the attorneys can clear up for me. I just read on the computer that a federal judge in California blocks Trump's from firing the federal workers. And my question is, does a federal judge in California have more power than the president of the United States?
Well, there you go. I mean, that's what we have Supreme Courts for, though, right, Melfi?
That's exactly why we have Supreme Courts for.
I mean, so if they feel he doesn't, you just take it to the next level.
Right. Someone challenged the executive order and the judge, he denied part of it. So, that's our process. That's our checks and balances in our government.
Right. All right. You're on the air. Hello.
Yeah, I have a really unfortunate situation you might be able to help me with. Our 16-year-old granddaughter lives in North Carolina, and she's been living with her father. Her mother, unfortunately, is in prison, and he has full custody over his daughter, our granddaughter. He wasn't a very good planner, and he doesn't have a will, and he didn't plan for any kind of emergencies. And we found out this last week He is now in the hospital. He's on a respirator. He's got heart failure. He's got kidney disease. They're keeping him sedated. And there's a very good possibility here in the next few days he might actually pass away.
Oh, wow.
So that leaves our 16-year-old granddaughter living in his house in North Carolina all by herself with no other family. She has half brothers there. But what I'm wondering is it legal for her to live alone? And if it isn't legal, what would the next step be? And if we wanted to bring her up here, how would that work?
Sure. So I am not a North Carolina lawyer, so I do not know the exact rule in North Carolina if a 16-year-old can live by themselves. What I would do is probably petition the juvenile court in North Carolina on an emergency basis. I'd get a lawyer, a juvenile or a custody lawyer down there.
Like a Mark DeVecchio down
like
there.
a Mark DeVecchio down there, and there should be a process where they can expedite a hearing, so there can be custody arrangements made while the father is in the hospital, or if he passes, there's processes for that as well.
Let me ask the caller a question. Now, you say the father's in the hospital. Did he remarry, or is there another adult in the house?
There is not another adult in the house, and for the last week or so with him being in the hospital, she's been on her own, having her friends take her to work. She is able to make it to school, and she says she's safe, but we don't buy it. I mean, a 16-year-old girl living alone, that doesn't sound like safe to me.
Well, didn't you say there were some half brothers there as well, though?
There are, but they're in a town that's not close to where she lives, and they're trying to help out the best they can.
Oh, so she's at the house by herself.
Yes, she is.
All right, and let me ask Melfi this: so if this guy would pass, the mother is in prison in the Crowbar Hotel, but the mother is your daughter, correct, sir?
That's correct.
So I wonder if he passes, being the mother, if she would have a say-so to be able to grant temporary custody or whatever to the grandparents.
She could probably sign that right away while she is in custody. There are programs, especially in the juvenile courts, addressing these types of situations. So whatever county she is in, I would see if they can get in touch with a social worker or one of these individuals that work in the courts.
So he should. I think you were right. First of all,
I'm right.
The first call is to get an attorney before you call any social worker.
That's the first call. But if you're worried about her health and safety and well-being, I mean, you got to get somebody down there to,
because they could very well take her out of the house or what. I don't know. That could make it worse. You need a DeVecchio down there, don't you? I mean,
that's what I would hang up the call. I'd hang up the phone right now and start
looking for a
Mark DeVecchio in North Carolina.
Mark DeVecchio. I'll tell you what. I'll pay his moving expenses if he moves down there.
Well, you need somebody of that moral character and passionate that Mark has to do something like that. Because boy, I understand your concern, and you're afraid if this guy would pass away, then what happens to the house and what happens to there's a big mess going on.
It's a huge mess, Ron, and attorneys, because we don't know the condition of his finances, but we know they're not good. He was on a disability because he had his foot amputated not too long ago. And if he passes, she could be one mortgage payment away from them foreclosing, turning the lights off.
Right.
So she's stuck down there, and what's she going to do?
Who's paying the electric bill?
Well, I doubt there's a power of attorney on file.
No, there's no power of attorney on file.
And he's sedated, so he can't sign.
Check was keeping the lights on and the water going, but we don't know the extent to which that was in arrears.
Is there the possibility that you could get on a plane and fly down and visit her, or drive down, I should say? It's not that far.
My wife was planning on going down and seeing her to at least see what she could find out and be there instead of trying to do it 600 miles away.
Right. I mean, why wouldn't you go with your wife? Would be my question.
I'm not retired yet.
All right. Well, take some vacation.
My
time,
suggestion is get your wife down there and then find a lawyer. And until the problem's solved, if she can be away from home for a while to help you guys solve it. I think that's the best course of action.
And you don't know if your granddaughter wants to come back here to Ohio, do you? Have you talked to her?
We do know that. She does not want to come back to Ohio. She wants to finish high school there. She's in 11th grade. And to be honest with you, we talked to her today, and she doesn't really even want her grandmother staying in the house with her, which is a little suspicious, but it's kind of like she's got some independence and maybe she wants to keep it.
Yeah, it's a bizarre scenario.
Just a quick research look up here, Jimmy. It looks like if she's been in North Carolina for more than 6 months, she can plead for emancipation.
At 16?
Oh,
Looks
okay.
like you can.
And would she need to get an attorney to be able to do that?
Oh, yeah, it's
I would
an
assume
application
so,
through the court.
But let me ask you guys this. I mean, if he passes away, that's an easier thing to do and stay in school. But she doesn't realize there's an electric bill, there's property taxes,
Right.
there's groceries. I mean, there's a lot of expenses that are just taken care of by her father.
Real
and
life,
if he
yeah.
passes away, now all of a sudden, this independence that she's maybe enjoying right now has a lot of responsibility that goes with it. But
The reality of real life will slap her in the face.
Catch up with
real
her very
fast.
quickly, and
Real
that's our
fast.
thinking exactly. So,
what is your daughter doing in jail? What did she do?
well, that's how he got full custody. She had a very unfortunate background with substance abuse and
Yeah.
became a 3 strikes and you're out felon. So there was a sentence she had to plead to, and she'll be in there for another 2.5 years.
Boy, oh boy! I bet you never thought that would happen in your life.
Not in a million years, Ron.
I mean, it's just. I feel for you because you never signed up for those type of headaches. And do you visit your daughter in prison?
We have not with this most recent incarceration, but she's been in and out other facilities. We've been to visit her one time when she was there.
Well, why don't you go visit her? Why don't your wife go visit her and tell her what's going on?
We can text her and she can actually call. So there's regular communication through the facility, which is good. But if we were down there, we would go by and we would see her in person. Yes.
What does your daughter say about this situation?
She couldn't believe it when we told her that basically her daughter doesn't want help. She doesn't want her grandma down there. It's like, really? She couldn't believe it. So it was a shock to her as well.
Well, it's a shock to me, man. I feel for you. I really do. Let me know. Stay in touch so we know what progress you're making or not making. If there's anything else further we can assist you with, we'd be more than happy to.
I will let you know. I appreciate the help. Thanks.
Thank you. I mean, boy, my heart breaks. I mean, really.
That's such a
And
hard
you know,
scenario. It really
does
is.
make you stop and pause. I mean, and you would say this, Jimmy, and I would say this to all of you. We are genuinely blessed to have Mark DeVecchio at Beatrice Cop because Mark is he's a terrific human being, but he's the type of guy that you would want on a situation like this. And boy, if we could clone him and give him a North Carolina law license, we would.
The amount of empathy Mark displays is truly remarkable. It really is.
He's just really good at what he does. I mean, he's a good person. Let's start with that. He's just a good human being. And boy, I mean, my heart breaks for that guy. It really does. You're on the air with our attorneys tonight. Hello.
Hello. I have a general question about liabilities that rideshare drivers face, people who do things like Lyft and Uber, particularly with respect to unaccompanied minors using the platform, which is forbidden, I think, by one or both of those companies, and people with children that don't have proper seating or proper restraint. What liabilities do drivers face in those cases?
Boy, those are excellent
Those
questions.
are actually really
Attorney Melfi.
good questions.
Get that guy to research it while you're talking.
Yeah, that's a great law
Yeah,
school question.
so first, Uber does have an application where you can put children under 18 in an Uber. They go through a pretty significant vetting process to be able to drive children. I know if they require car seats or boosters, that is not applicable. You can't put your children in that Uber. There's actually a lot of dispute, especially in some other states, regarding Uber's liability if one of their rideshare drivers gets into an accident. So Uber drivers are typically known as independent contractors, and they are not employees of Uber. So a lot of these states are passing laws basically making Uber immune to these types of claims against them based upon that they're an independent contractor and not an employee of Uber. So I always tell Uber drivers, make sure you maintain sufficient coverage on your personal vehicle before you even start that process.
So when you're looking at this, then you're saying that if there's a minor that wants to use Uber to go somewhere,
yes, occasionally people will put actually, high school students, junior, and the Lyft in particular is very specific about unaccompanied minors using the platform. My question is, if somebody is successful in putting the ruse over and convincing the driver that the passenger is 18 or older, but in fact they're not, Lyft does encourage drivers to check their ID. But if an accident were to occur, would the liability fall on the driver, and would it be aggravated because the terms of service were violated?
Well, it would fall on the driver, but I'm gonna turn it around a little bit. So the driver would then have defenses. It wouldn't be a contractual claim that they violated the terms of service. However, you would have a defense based upon the parents' failure to supervise their child and getting into this Uber as a minor. If you're actually out there driving Uber and Lyft, and like you said, you have to be diligent about checking IDs and things like that. If you just kind of turn a blind eye, get into an accident, someone's a minor, and say, well, they're a minor, their parents shouldn't put them in this Uber, then you have some problem. But if you're pretty sharp about checking everyone's IDs, there's some defenses out there.
Wouldn't it come down to, Attorney Melfi, that, if it's an adult or a child, it doesn't matter so much. If you get in an accident, you better have insurance to cover the passengers that you're carrying. A lot of these insurance companies want to know if you're using your vehicle for Uber or Lyft, and then you have to pay more in case there is an accident to cover that.
Right. They do. Typically these guys driving Uber, these insurance companies, one, they'll try to exclude it from their policy, or they're going to require you to really get a high type of policy, 250, 500,000, so you can actually drive these Ubers.
It's up to the driver, I would think, to have the right insurance for what they're doing as a side gig, if you will.
Right. It is up to the driver.
Because if they do get in an accident with anybody in it, the insurance company's going to want to know right off the bat if you signed up for that or notified them of that.
My understanding is Uber, makes you maintain a certain level of liability coverage. The lawsuits we're seeing right now with Uber are these kind of these terrible crimes that are going on from the drivers and passengers, and everyone's alleging Uber's not vetting their drivers. So that's when we're really seeing Uber being held accountable, or these other rideshare services, for negligence, not so much in a car crash scenario.
That would be right. That would be more understandable, because that would be more understandable in a car crash or something along those lines. What was your question about minors? What was the other one that you had, caller?
Well, it's not uncommon for ride requests to come from schools. And when that happens, I expect a minor to attempt to enter my car. And that's when I'll ask them to show me ID, or I'll just text them on the way, before traveling.
You took my recommendation out of my mouth.
Me that they are 18 years or older, but they do not have their ID with them, and I should drive them anyway.
Well, I don't think I would. Would you?
If an accident occurs, that the liability on me would be aggravated because this person is not 18 years of age. It should not be in the car unaccompanied.
Well, then don't give them a ride.
Just think about it this way. Think about common sense. If you're getting an Uber notification to pick somebody up from a high school, okay, there's a good chance this person's a minor. So, you have the right to pick and choose who you drive. So I would use, like you said, use common sense.
Right.
All right. So that's an interesting question. Thank you for it. There's no question you should notify your insurance company if you're doing that, though. Agreed?
Absolutely.
Because I think they do put an additional charge on there, because basically you're using your car as a taxi. All right, Attorney James Melfi is with us tonight. The Legal Show brought to you by Beatrice Copp, back with segment number 2 coming up on News Radio 570 WQN. You got a legal question? 330-729-9977. 3 lines open for your legal question. 330-729-9977.
Visit your neighborhood Flynn's Tire and Auto Service Center,
for great savings like these. $60 instant savings. Back to the Legal Show, segment 2, brought to you by Beatrice Kopp on News Radio 570 WKBN. With us till 6 tonight, attorney Jim Melfi from the firm, answering your questions, and onward we go, James. News Radio 570 WKBN. It's a glorious looking Thursday, incidentally, where it's 66 degrees, and you're on the air with our attorneys tonight. Hello.
Hi.
Yes.
How's it going?
Good. Your question, please.
Well, I got this is about Brightspeed Telephone Company. I've had a problem with them since April of last year. I signed up for bumping up my internet to 1 gigabyte with them, never mentioning anything about the telephone service on their advertisements. Even to this day, they don't. And when the guys came out and hooked up the fiber optics, the tech asked me, he says, do you want to keep your phones, put them on fiber optics or keep them on the hard line? And he said, if you put it on fiber optics, you're going to lose your phone service if the power goes out. And I said, well, just leave it on the hard line. Well, 2 hours after they left, the phones went out. Everything went out, the phone and my fax machine, everything, for a month. And I was arguing back and forth with them. So meantime, after I filed with the Public Utilities Commission, I finally got them back to turn on my phone on the hard line again and my fax machine. Well, ever since then, I've had to file a second complaint with the Public Utilities Commission because I kept losing my internet and sometimes the phones. They'd go 2 weeks at a time, and they said you ought to have to wait 2 weeks to get service because they're working on changing over to fiber optics. Well, now I filed a third complaint because I don't have my fax machine again, and I'm waiting for somebody. They came out Monday to check my phones, and they said there's nothing they can do. And I'm really getting upset with this because I'm paying for a service I'm not getting. And I want to know if there's any options for me to go after Brightspeed.
Is your fax machine on the original copper telephone lines? I thought you said you didn't want them on the fiber network, that you wanted them on the copper lines.
That's correct. I have a special number that's attached to my regular phone number, but it has a special ring, and everything's on the DSL line.
Well, there's a number of things that, just before I turn you over to the attorneys, these companies are trying to get rid of DSL, the traditional phone. I'm going to give you this has nothing to do with legal advice. I'm just going to tell you right off the bat. The phone company wants to get rid of people on these copper phone lines, and they want to get rid of DSL lines. Period. That's why they keep jacking they jack the rates up beyond belief. All right, they're just jacking them up on you if you're on these. So my first question to you is, wouldn't you be better off putting everything on the fiber line and be a lot less expensive? Just asking a question to you. I mean,
okay, I can answer that question quick. They said I could keep my phone number, my regular phone number that's on the landline, but I can't have my fax machine on the line.
Well, I don't know why you couldn't.
They can't handle it.
I don't know why. Okay, that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, if you have Armstrong cable, and you can have your house phone on Armstrong cable and your fax machine on it too. I mean, well, that's Armstrong cable. I don't know this company you're talking about. I've never really heard of it. But anyway,
Brightspeed bought CenturyLink.
Is it a cable?
And they're out of South Carolina.
Is it a cable company?
No.
Oh, it's over the airwaves then for your okay.
They're a regular phone company. They're on the telephone poles.
All right. Okay. Jim, you know anything about this?
All right. I have a couple suggestions first, but just for my own curiosity, I have never heard of phone and internet being out for weeks or a month at a time. I'm a little lost for words here. Sir, do you live in a remote area?
No, I live right in Warren, Ohio, 3 blocks from the center of town.
Huh. What's your cable company down there?
You have Spectrum?
They have Spectrum.
Well, why don't you use it?
Well, I got tired of them. I had to call FCC on them because I was getting 10 calls a day wanting them to switch me over. So I got tired of fighting with them.
All right. So just from a practical standpoint, did you call them, dispute your bill, and tell them you want a credit?
Yeah, I've done that. And
they give you any money back?
They were supposed to give me credit. That didn't show up on my phone bill. And I called them about that. And they were going to upgrade the credit because the phone's being out so long. And like I said, I have my internet right now, which has been working pretty good. But I'm dealing with, I don't have my fax machine, and it's right when tax season's going on. And I can't fax anything out because it's not getting to where it's supposed to go. And I can't get a fax coming in.
Well, why don't you why I don't understand, Jim. For the life of me, I don't understand why the guy would tolerate this at all as a customer. Do you?
I would not tolerate.
It's lousy service. I would go to Spectrum, or I would go. Copper phone lines are a thing of the past. If you want a house phone and a fax machine, you better go to Spectrum and let them handle it.
Switch over, go to Spectrum.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to offend a caller, but you're complaining about everybody. And those are your choices. Vote with your feet. You're on the air. Hello.
Hello. I have a detractive nuisance, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I had some minor children. I have 10 acres. I had some minor children yesterday come over and start fishing after they climbed my fence. I need to know how liable am I if they get hurt on my property, even though I have posted do not trespass signs
Okay.
throughout the property.
I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
Dan, this is like a bad law school question. I think you had this. This is a first year torts question. So, quickly, you said you have a pond.
Yes,
How big is this pond?
it's about an acre.
Okay.
That sounds like a lake to me.
Yeah, that's a
big
Well,
pond.
And do
maybe
you have a
half an
fence
acre.
around your property?
Mostly fenced, except I have a neighbor who is also in on the pond, and on either side of his house, it's not fenced.
Well, if they come in through the neighbor's side, I would say that the responsibility comes upon the neighbor. And I like the phrase attractive nuisance. I mean, that has given me shivers down from first year torts. So basically, an attractive nuisances is when there's children and you have like a pool or a lake or a trampoline. You know, that's what's called an attractive nuisance that will attract these children to come onto your property. And if you get hurt, it's a theory of liability under the law. So if you're telling me your property's fenced, you have no trespassing signs, I mean, you seem very well covered to me. Is this a picket fence? How big is this fence?
I followed them and I told them to leave. I took them to their parents and made a complaint with the police because I don't want it to happen again.
I think you did all the right things. I mean, you're documenting it
Okay.
that kids are coming there. You have a fence. You have no trespassing signs. You're
However,
actively
the
guarding
kids
against
wouldn't
it.
be 1 acre pond could be some sort of reasonably foreseeable that the pond's
Yeah, I mean, you're doing all the right things, and if they get on through your neighbor's side, I mean, that falls on your neighbor's homeowners, not yours.
Yeah, but it's not fenced between me and my neighbor.
Who owns the property between you and your neighbor where it's not fenced?
My neighbor and I both, it butts up. I have, my property goes like in a U shape around their property. So it's fenced up to their property line, and then it's open, and then there's their driveway, and then their house, and then it's open on the other side of their house, and then the fence continues around in a big U shape.
Okay, but your property is fenced, but there's an area that is not, and that's where their driveway is.
Correct.
Okay, and there's no way that you guys can possibly fence that or put a gate.
I don't think so. It would cut right into their garage.
Yeah, I mean, I
across the
think you're
driveway.
covered. My gut tells me you're covered, especially the fence. I mean, you see those scenarios when people have pools, especially those above ground or blow up pools, and they leave them in their yard, front or back. I mean, you're just asking for a tragedy to happen. But from what you're telling me, you're pretty well covered.
How many signs do I need to post? And how close to the road or?
There are I would post them. There's no amount that's really necessary. I would post them where you've seen these kids get to the pond before, or especially maybe along the fence where they could access it between the fence and the neighbor's driveway.
That's what I did. Okay.
You're doing all the right
I'm in-
things.
I'm in good shape.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
so much.
All right. With our attorneys, the law show courtesy of Beatrice Kopp, you're on the air. Hello, caller. Line 3. Hello. Nobody there. You're on the air. Hello. Yes, go ahead.
I live in Pennsylvania, and in Pennsylvania, if you have a paying customer in your vehicle, you better have commercial insurance. Standard insurance policy does not pay for injury of a paying customer.
Okay, as an Uber driver, that you got to have a rider on your policy. All right. Thank you. You're on the air with our attorneys tonight. Hello.
Yes, this is Dave. In defense of the gentleman from Warren, in regards to the telephone system, he doesn't have a choice. In Trumbull County, you go with the company that's offered to you. I had a similar situation where I had my whole home system and outbuildings were hooked up to coax cable. They came in, put in fiber, disconnected my coax, so I lost everything, and they don't have a way to convert it back. Tough luck for me with Armstrong.
You
So-
can't get Armstrong back.
And well, no, I have Armstrong, but they don't have a way to hook up my system that was already connected after they brought in the fiber, and they gave me no warning. They should have done that ahead of time before I ran everything coax. This gentleman in Warren's probably with, I think he said Spectrum or
No, bright something.
Bright speed.
Yeah, Brightspeed. They took over companies, and same thing. You don't have a choice. You can't go. I can't go to Warner Cable. I can't go to Spectrum. We don't have a choice. We're locked into the companies that are running the cable.
I mean, I live in Trumbull and I have Spectrum, but I mean, just for the callers on this topic, I mean, there's a reason why dial-up internet is done. I mean, it's old technology. You're just gonna have to.
Okay, but I'm not on dial-up. I'm on cable.
No, I'm just giving that as an example. You know, technology changes and we have to adapt with technology. I do agree, though, it's a pain in the butt. I will say that, but
I mean, I can't say, when he's talking about it, I mean, I can't, certainly at our household and maybe at yours, I mean, we've had Armstrong for years, and Armstrong put in fiber cable or whatever, but it still runs to your house and it works flawlessly. I mean, it works terrific.
Well, I went with Armstrong because I was upset with AT&T. So they converted the hard line that was with AT&T apparently to coax. And then after I'd had everything wired up, they came in and run fiber.
Who
optic,
did?
And everything that I had coax was disconnected, and they don't have a way, or at least they claim to, not to connect my system. And there's no other company around that's going to, I'm tied into Armstrong now, cable. So it's just not right what they're doing.
This other company, I'm totally clueless on any of this.
yeah, I have no idea what coaxial is. All I know is I have Wi-Fi. I have no home phone. As long as my Wi-Fi is working,
Well,
Ron, and I can stream.
everybody was hooked up to coax when they went to cable.
Well, I get what you're
Interesting.
saying. You have Wi-Fi in your house, but a lot of times you have cable going to the house or fiber going to your house, which is hooked up to your router, which then puts the Wi-Fi in your home.
Exactly.
And it's more reliable than just over the airwaves Wi-Fi, if you will, without it. It's just better and more dependable than just coming through the air to your house. I get what you're saying. Good luck. You're on the air.
Hi, is you talking to me?
Yes.
Oh, I have a question regarding elder law. I've owned my house for 25 years, and my wife and I just got married like 10 years ago. Let's say I have to go to the nursing home. I don't have her name. I have the name on the deed. If I pass away, she gets the house. But if I had to go to the nursing home, would they be able to do anything with the house because it wasn't in her name?
What I would do is you could set up a trust. And what you want to do is Medicare, Medicaid, a 5-year look back period. And Dan, the name of the trust is escaping me right now.
Irrevocable.
The irrevocable trust. Thank you. You want to set up an irrevocable trust. And if you're not expecting to go to the nursing home within 5 years, you should be covered on that issue.
No, I'm not expecting that in 5 years.
Well, you
But
better
I
do
didn't
it
want them to be
quickly.
able to
Then
take the
set up
house.
an irrevocable trust.
And get on it.
Okay.
While you're still healthy. Don't put it off.
Right. Thank you very much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. I mean, one thing you got to give to people is worry about this while you're still young and healthy when you can make some of these changes. Don't wait, right, Jim, till you're 75 or 80 because you got that 5-year look back period, and you might set it up and then might have a problem 3 years down the road.
A lot of people do not want to face their own mortality. It's just the truth. So they
Mhm.
don't think about it and they don't do the proper planning, and then everything becomes a mess. We get those calls every week, Ron.
I was confused with him though when he was saying about if he dies, the house goes to her.
Well,
I mean, is her name on the title, and is it a title of joint tenants of
yeah,
survivorship?
you need to have a transfer on death designation. Would be the easiest way to do that. If they both own it, joint rights with survivorship, he passes, she automatically gets it. But transfer on death designation is the easiest way to go about that process.
You know what? I mean, they've been married for 10 years. That's a vital time frame if you think about it, Jim. 10 years, because if she's married to you at least 10 years, now she's entitled, she doesn't get your Social Security, but she can be entitled to it at her retirement time to be able to get some Social Security benefits as a result of being married to you for 10 years.
It's
vital.
It's a good thing to keep in the back of your head. I'm going on 4 years here in July. So,
well, you got to get divorced after 9 years. No, it has nothing to, I'm sure it has nothing to do with taking any of your money. It just means that if 10 years or more, they could always file, as even if you're divorced, for some benefits as a result of the time that's the Social Security is what I'm saying.
Like my wife says, joking to me when she's mad at me, she goes, "You don't want me to call Mark, do you?" And I said, no, then I, straighten up real good.
Yeah. You don't want to come home and hit, the phone machine and play the messages. And it says, "Hey, it's Attorney Mark DeVecchio returning whatever your wife's first
right.
name,
I don't want to get a fax in my, near my home phone that it's a fax from Mark saying,
Right. Because at that point in time, you might as well just give her everything and just go sleep in a garage.
Yeah.
But I don't see that happening, Melfi.
I don't see it happening either.
It seems to me, you got, you made the right decision. You're having children and from what I hear, your wife couldn't be happier.
My wife couldn't be happier. I'm the picture perfect husband.
That's what I've heard down there. A lot of people in the Girard area are saying, that James Melfi is just the best husband in the world. A lot of guys down there are very upset because it puts a lot of pressure on them to try to be Melfi-like.
Yeah, I know. I try to deflect those compliments, and I tell everyone, you guys are doing great. Don't worry.
Right. You guys got to live your life. Don't try to live like you do.
Yeah, exactly.
You're on the air with Attorney Melfi. Hello.
Yeah, I had a question on an irrevocable trust. Say I put it in my nephew's name and he dies before I die. What happens then?
Do you have an
Better
alternate?
have more than one. Yeah.
What's that?
Do you have an alternate trustee?
I have a niece, but if something happens between her and her husband, does that would go to her husband?
No, not necessarily. You could write your trust in a way that in the event you want it probably to go down your bloodline. And I'll give you an example. Say, you have 4 children and all 4 children are married, and you can write in a trust document that if my child passes while the trust is still operative, the money then could go to their children or could then pass to the other 3 siblings. There's a lot of ways to prevent if that's your concern, is the husband.
The only thing
control.
I'm worried about is my properties. And like right now I have it in my nieces and nephew's name. I have no children or any other relatives. So I have it in their names as transfer on death. But if I go in a nursing home, they're going to suck it dry and I'll end up with nothing.
Well, that's why.
Yeah. But if you put it in a trust, an irrevocable trust, it's almost like you don't own it. And then they're kind of in charge of it. You'd have to see an estate attorney.
Yeah. If you have a lot of concerns about where you want your property to go after you pass, I would sit down, take notes, call an estates and trust lawyer and have a consultation, kind of talk about, your issues and problems you don't want to have happen, and they'll guide you in the right direction.
Yeah, the only thing I was worried about, say 10 years down the road and I decide to sell the property, I can't sell it, right?
No, it's in a trust. The trustee would have to sell it, make the decision.
Yeah, it's an irrevocable, yeah.
Right, but unless it's in an irrevocable trust, the nursing home can take over, like not a Medicaid or Medicare trust.
Well, they got a 5-year look back
They have
period.
a 5-year
right?
look back.
That's fine. That's what I'm saying. But I just was wondering if there's something other than an irrevocable trust, just a regular land trust where I don't own it and nobody else owns it. But in my will, the trust goes to my niece and nephew.
Right. And then the other option you could potentially look at, and you'd have to talk to the state lawyer, how it would affect the look back period. I know a lot of people, what they do is they transfer ownership to say if they have children, or in your case, your nieces and nephews, and you can retain what's called a life estate in the property. So while you're alive, you have every
Right, I can't get booted out.
Can't get booted
Yeah.
out.
And can still get the homestead exemption too.
But you better make sure you talk to a good estate attorney, not just any attorney, an estate attorney that knows what they're doing.
Does Beatrice do that stuff or not?
Well, he's a criminal attorney. But
If you give us a call, we'll help you get you a referral if it's
All right.
something we can't help you with. How about that?
Okay, sounds great. You guys have a good one.
You
All
too,
right,
sir.
so, I mean, that's what you got to do. I mean, you got to plan ahead, James. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Death is final, Ron. It's so final.
It's inevitable, as they say. So you just don't know when it's going to happen. And a lot of these people say, okay, well, I'm going to wait and wait and wait and wait. And then if you do it too late in life and there's that 5-year look back period, you might not make the 5 years.
Yeah, exactly.
To do it. And then you're going to lose a lot of it. That's how the system works to pay for your nursing home care and what have you. Because they're going to say, why should the system pay for it if you got the money, right?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
there's estate planning is everybody should have a will. I think we would all agree on that to begin with.
Just the basic will, yes.
And in many cases, you got to have a will and hopefully and beneficiaries on all of your accounts.
Right. You want to have
And
the
then-
beneficiaries, transfer on deaths. If you can do that, you're going to alleviate a lot of headaches in the probate process.
Right. I mean, because you don't have to go through probate. You know,
Right.
you can even do that on your cars. For
Yeah.
people that are out there, you can, if you go down, you can do it on your cars so that if you die, it doesn't get tied up in probate at all. It will transfer on death to your son or daughter if you have the title right on your automobile.
Right. And a lot of
I mean,
people forget about that because they'll do it on all their bank accounts, and all of a sudden the estate's open because they have to transfer 2 cars.
Right. So anything titled, whether that's your cars or a house or anything along those lines, if you do play your cards right, it can all avoid probate.
That's exactly right.
Because your bank accounts, your cars, now there's not a whole lot left in the will, if you will.
Exactly.
If people are always afraid of probate, and I get it because of the fees and all that kind of stuff involved in it. But if you really got the transfer on death or the deed done right on your homes, and you got it done right on your cars, and you have beneficiaries on all of your bank accounts, then there's not a whole lot left to probate.
Right. And it avoids all the estate fights we hear about amongst, siblings or surviving spouse, and everyone's fighting about the money. You get these things squared away early, you're going to avoid a lot of headaches for, the people you leave behind.
Right. I mean, and it is something that everyone should do as far as planning is concerned. And I'm sure that you guys have done it with the Melfi fortune down there in Girard to make sure that, when everybody's day comes, that it'll stay within the bloodline, right?
I don't know anything about that.
Well, you better start learning. Do you need me to give you some advice? I
can tell you've been
I'm
doing
here
this
for
show
it.
for 5 years? Like
40 or something, I don't know.
have picked something up along the way.
Right. Oh, I picked a lot up from Beatrice, believe me when I tell you that. All right, guys. You probably don't know what's going on in WFMJ today, tomorrow, but
No,
you
I
know
do.
that- You do?
I do.
What's happening?
Brian Kopp's coming in town, and we are going to be talking about liability as it pertains to dog bites.
Which is a great question. You mean from the standpoint of a lot of people that go out riding bikes, these dogs chase them and can cause problems. So what's the liability as far as the owner of the dog is concerned if they hurt somebody or vice versa?
The liability analysis in dog bites gets really interesting. You own your home, it's your dog. You have to properly restrain your dog. Ohio is a strict liability state. So even if you have a fence or some type of invisible fence, your dog gets out and bites somebody, you're strictly liable. It gets really interesting when someone else is living in your home or it's a rental property. That's when you get into a lot of legal fights.
Well, there you go. Tomorrow morning, 6:40 on WFMJ. Hey, thank you. The Legal Show brought to you by Beatrice Kopp. Thank you, Attorney Melfi. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Ron.
All right. We'll come back.